The SOS that changed everything in the cold, dark space near the edge of the galaxy. A weak signal echoed through the stars. It was broken, almost silent, but full of fear. It came from a peaceful colony called Valen. The voice in the message was shaking, soft, and tired. We are under attack. Please, help us. The signal kept repeating, again and again, but no one answered. The Galactic Council heard the message, but they did nothing. They were too busy with politics, meetings, and their own safety. They didn't care about one small alien colony far from the core worlds, but the signal didn't stop. It reached beyond the Council's system. It reached a place most feared, a place others whispered about. It reached Earth, to the Deathworlders. The galaxy had many names for Earthwild. Dangerous, unstable, but one word was always the same: lethal. When humans got involved, things changed fast, and usually, things ended in fire and fear. Earth didn't sit in the Council. They didn't ask for permission. They didn't send a reply. Instead, they activated something cold and quiet, a ship hidden deep under the oceans of Earth, a ship known only by a name whispered in fear across battlefields and black markets: the Reaper's Mercy. It was not a big ship. It wasn't full of bright lights or loud weapons. It was black, sharp, and silent, built for one purpose: justice. When the message was confirmed as real, the humans didn't talk. They didn't wait. They launched the ship, and it disappeared into the stars. Inside it were only a few humans, but each one was trained to end wars before they started, to protect the weak, to make the enemy regret every choice they ever made. On Valen, things were getting worse. The slavers were everywhere. They burned homes, locked families in cages, and laughed as they took what they wanted. The sky was full of their dirty ships, loud and ugly. The aliens of Valen cried out again and again. No one came until the sky changed. At first, they thought it was a star. Then it grew larger, darker. A long black shadow covered the morning sun. A ship, smooth like glass, sharp like a blade, hovered above the colony. It made no sound, no message, no warning. The slavers laughed. One tiny ship. That's all they sent. But their sensors went dark. Their radios screamed with static, then silence. In the command center of the slaver camp, the leader shouted, "Find out who that is. Shoot them down." But nothing worked. Missiles didn't lock. Turrets didn't move. The ship had shut everything down. Inside the Reaper's Mercy, the humans prepared one by one. They dropped to the planet in silent pods. Each pod landed softly, hidden in smoke and shadows. The people of Valen watched in fear and hope. Who were these silent ghosts? Then, the first camp went dark. No sounds, no alarms, just gone. Later, the smoke cleared. The cages were empty. The slavers were gone. On the wall, a message was burned in perfect human letters. "We heard you." In the next hour, 3 more. Camps fell. No one saw the humans, only the damage they left behind. The people began to whisper. They came. From Earth, the Deathworlders heard us. In a small cave, a mother held her 2 children close. She had no food, no water. She had given up hope. Then a human entered. He didn't speak. He gave the children food, wrapped them in warm blankets, and left. The mother fell to her knees and cried. Not in fear, in relief. Across the stars, the Council received a report. "Unmarked human ship has landed on Valen," one leader whispered. "They sent the Reaper's Mercy." Another asked, "Why would they send that over a colony?" The oldest voice answered, "Because someone cried for help in the next 24 hours. Nothing on Valen was the same. The slavers were running, hiding, begging, but Earth didn't send peacekeepers. They sent a shadow that moved with precision, with purpose, with cold, silent rage. The people of Valen didn't understand why Earth had answered. They didn't know the reason. But they would never forget what happened when the stars answered their cry. The SOS reached the Deathworlders, and they didn't send aid. They sent a message: "You are not forgotten." Arrival of the Reapers, Mercy the black ship, floated like a shadow above the burning fields of Valen. It didn't shine, it didn't roar, it simply hovered, silent and watching. The slavers stared up in confusion. Their scanners showed nothing, no signal, no ID, no engine sound. It was as if the ship didn't exist. Some slavers laughed. Just one ship. Who cares? But others took a step back. Something felt wrong. Something felt cold. The people of Valen stood frozen. The ship was unlike anything they had ever seen. It didn't move like other ships. It moved like it had a mind of its own. Like it was hunting. Then the wind changed. Soft, slow pods began to fall from the ship. Not missiles, not bombs, but sleek, black landing pods. Each one hit the ground without a sound. The dust rose, then cleared. From each pod, one human stepped out. Tall, armored, helmeted, like ghosts made of steel. They didn't speak. They didn't look around. They simply started walking. Their boots made no noise. Their rifles were held low. But their eyes were already looking for targets. The first group walked straight into the slaver outpost near the river. The guards there were lazy. Distracted, one of them pointed. "Who are they?" Another laughed. "New traders, maybe." Then came the first shot. Silent, clean. Straight through the head of the guard, he dropped without a sound. The others barely had time to reach for their weapons. By then, the humans were already inside, moving room by room, no shouting, no panic. Only quick movements, precise strikes. The outpost went quiet in less than 2 minutes. The prisoners inside didn't even know what had happened. They looked up to see a tall figure unlocking the cages. The human knelt, gave them water. Then walked away. No words, no explanations, across the hill. The slaver leader watched the burning camp. His face turned pale. He called on his Kamzal units. "We're under attack. Find out who they are." But there was no answer. The network was jammed. The sensors were useless. Every system was blind. Back in orbit, the Reaper's Mercy still floated above the planet, still silent, still cold, inside the ship. The AI monitored everything. It sent data to the ground team in real time. No command center, no generals, just cold logic and perfect coordination. A second team landed near the slave mines. They moved into the tunnels. Night vision activated. The slavers inside never saw them coming. One by one, the humans took them down with fists, blades, and silent shots. Not one civilian was harmed. Not one human was wounded. The people in the mines were weak, broken. When the lights turned on, they covered their faces. But the human team didn't leave them. They carried the injured, fed the children, left supplies, then moved to the next site. The slavers began to panic. They sent out escape ships. But as they rose into the sky, laser nets activated from above. The Reaper's Mercy was no longer silent. With a single flash, it locked onto the ships. They didn't explode, they simply fell. One by one, their engines disabled. No deaths, no chaos, only controlled the kind of control only humans could bring. In one command tent, a slaver captain looked at the black screen in front of him. All his camps were dark, his ships were gone, his men were silent. Then a new message flashed on the screen. 2 words, "You're next." He dropped the tablet. Breathing heavy, this wasn't war, this was a hunt. In a village on the edge of the forest, an old alien woman stared at the humans passing by. They didn't harm anyone, they didn't even speak, they just nodded, she whispered. "They came for us." Children followed behind them. One little girl reached out and touched the soldier's armor. It was cold, but he turned and gave her a soft smile, then he walked on. That night, the fires burned low, but not from destruction. From safety, the people of Valen finally felt something they hadn't felt in weeks. Hope, and high above. The Reaper's Mercy waited. It wasn't done. The humans had only just begun. This wasn't a rescue, this was judgment, and no slaver would escape it. The first strike the night on Valen was quiet. Too quiet, the air felt heavy. Like the silence before a storm, the slaver camps were still, their lights flickering. Many guards stood alert, but their hands trembled. The stories of the black ship were spreading, fast whispers of humans walking through fire without fear, of enemies falling before they could scream. At the largest camp, Commander Euro paced nervously. He had led slaver raids on 10 different colonies. He had crushed rebellions and burned cities, but this felt different. He looked at the horizon, where the forest met the sky. Darkness stared. Back at him, double the guards. He ordered, "Seal the cages tighter." His men obeyed, but their eyes showed fear. They had seen what happened to the river camp. To the mines, no survivors, no escape. But what they didn't know was that the humans were already inside. 3 teams, 12 soldiers in total. They had entered hours ago. Through tunnels, drains, and shadows, they didn't need numbers. They had precision, they had purpose. Team Echo entered from the east, moving past generators and fuel tanks. Each member knew their role. One placed a silent charge, another hacked the power grid. The third marked targets with a red laser no one else could see. Team Delta came in from below. Through old mining shafts, they climbed silently. Avoiding cameras and traps, one soldier paused near the cages. He saw children sleeping on cold metal floors, their faces thin, their bodies shaking. He whispered, "Not tonight," and moved on. Team Nova approached from the west, through the waste fields. Covered in dust and mud, they blended in with the ground. A patrol walked past, joking about the humans. Then one dropped, then another. The rest froze in fear. The night had no answers, only death. At the center of the camp, Commander Euro screamed into his com, "Where are the patrols? Report." But there was no reply, just static. Then the lights went out, all of them. From the gates to the guard towers, total darkness. The power was gone. In that moment, the camp became a maze of fear. Slavers ran in circles, shouting, colliding with each other. Some fired into the dark, hitting nothing. Then came the red lights. Laser dots on their chests, then silence. The humans moved fast. They used stun darts, smoke, blades. Only when needed did they use bullets, and when they did, it was always one shot, one fall. Clean, quiet, final, in the cage area. One slaver grabbed a child. "If you come closer, I'll kill her." He screamed. A human appeared behind him like a ghost. He didn't say a word, he fired. The child dropped to her knees, unharmed. The human helped her up, gave her a protein bar. She had never tasted real food before. She smiled with tears in her eyes. Explosions rocked the fuel tanks, not big ones, just enough to cause panic. The gates flew open. More humans entered, calm and silent. They moved like wind. By the time Commander Euro reached the control room, the monitors were dark. All of them, only one screen showed an image, a live feed of him. Standing alone, he looked up, and there they were. 3 humans in dark armor. Watching him, he reached for his weapon, too slow. A dart hit his arm. He fell to his knees, unable to move. "You don't get to run," one human said. "You don't get to hide," said another. The third leaned close and whispered, "You took the wrong people." Euro was dragged outside. The prisoners gathered around. They were scared, confused. Then one human pointed to the cages and said, "Open them." Keys were thrown, locks shattered. The slaves stepped out, free but unsure. Then, slowly, they smiled, some cried, some fell to the ground and kissed the dirt. One young boy, no more than 6, ran up to a human soldier and hugged his leg. "Thank you," he whispered. The soldier didn't speak. He just placed his hand gently on the boy's head. The Reaper's mercy hovered above the camp, lights scanning the ground. Seeing that the mission was complete, the humans signaled the ship extraction in 10 minutes as they prepared to leave. One human turned to the rescued people. "If they come again," he said, "we'll come too then." They vanished, leaving behind food, medicine, and freedom. But no names, no flags, just a memory burned into every heart. The first strike was not about killing. It was about a message, a promise to the slavers. It said, "You are not safe." To the innocent, it said, "You are not alone." And across the stars, that message spread faster than light. The Deathworlders had moved, and the galaxy would never forget it. Slavers began to panic. The fire from the slave camp still burned in the distance. The smoke curled high into the sky, like a signal of judgment. The slavers in nearby regions watched in silence. Some stared in disbelief, others in fear. None of them spoke the name of the ship out loud, but in their hearts, they already knew. The Reaper's mercy, it was not a myth anymore. It was here, and it was not just destroying camps. It was destroying fear itself, replacing it with something worse. Dread, Commander Drell of the Red Sun Cartel, stood in front of his officers. His voice shook. "I want defenses doubled. No, tripled. Contact the mercenaries. Hire all of them, set up the mines, load the turrets. Now," but even as he shouted, his eyes darted toward the skies, searching for that black shadow, one of his captains. An older alien with scars across his face leaned in and said, "Sir, if the humans are truly coming, nothing we do will matter." Drell slammed his fist on the table. "We are not like those weaklings at the river. If they come, we will crush them." But even he didn't believe his own words. Across the region, other slaver factions tried to contact each other. Their comms were slow, glitching, strange static filled their calls. Some claimed to hear a voice in the noise, whispers in a cold tone saying, "You're next." At the same time, the humans were already moving. They didn't wait. They didn't stop to rest. They moved like time itself, silent, fast, and unstoppable. Satellite drones from the Reaper's Mercy hovered high above, tracking every heat source, every transmission, every heartbeat. Team Echo landed near the southern camp. They didn't go for the gates. They cut through the terrain, disabled the outer towers. No alarms were triggered. By the time guards noticed the flickering lights, the humans were already inside. In the central bunker, Captain Sultan yelled into his screen, "Why are the cameras down? Why is no one answering me?" Then, behind him, a metal door slid open. 3 humans stood there, rifles aimed. He reached for his gun, but never got the chance to fire. They stunned him and moved on. Meanwhile, Team Delta was hitting the northern mines. They found slavers hiding behind energy shields. The humans didn't break the shields. They shut down the power grid. The shields flickered, and the humans walked through like ghosts at the main slaver base. The top leaders gathered for an emergency call. Dozens of faces filled the screen, all full of fear. They argued, blamed each other, shouted plans, but the screen suddenly went black. A new face appeared, not one of theirs. A human in dark armor, helmet on, voice distorted. "No council will save you," the voice said. "No escape ship will carry you. You will pay for every life you chained." Then the screen cut out. Panic spread like wildfire. Slavers ran to their ships, loading cargo, shouting commands. Some tried to flee. They rose into the sky, only to be caught in a web of red lights. The Reaper's Mercy activated its interdiction field, a tech only Earth possessed. Ships froze mid-air, then crashed softly to the ground, engines dead, weapons locked, from orbit. Earth's AI continued its cold watch. It didn't blink, it didn't rest, it just calculated where to strike next, how to save the most lives, how to break the enemies. Spirit without firing more than needed, the colony survivors whispered stories of how a human walked through gunfire, how another lifted a beam off a child without saying a word, of soldiers who stayed behind just to protect one injured girl. The people were no longer afraid of Earth. They were waiting for it, calling it by name, the protectors from the death world, in a hidden slaver base deep in the mountains. An emergency meeting took place. Slaver King Merrick stood in silence as his men argued. One shouted, "Let's contact the Galactic Council. They must stop this." Another said, "Bribe the humans. Give them something." Marek raised a hand, and they fell silent. "They don't want credits," he said. "They don't want land. They want justice," someone whispered. "Then we're already dead." The panic turned to fear. The fear turned to collapse. Entire slaver bands began disbanding, their leaders disappearing into shadows, destroying files, burning maps, but it was too late. The Reaper's Mercy had them marked, and Earth never forgot on Valen. The people began to rebuild. Children played without looking over their shoulders, elders sang again, and when the black ship passed above they waved, even though the humans never waved back. Even though they never showed their faces, in the galaxy's darkest places, the message was clear. Humans had heard the cry, and instead of words, they had sent action. Instead of promises, they had sent fear. The slavers had once ruled by power. Now they ran by night, looking over their shoulders, praying they wouldn't hear the hum of that ship, the ship that didn't bring aid, only judgment. A child's prayer, the wind howled through the burned forests outside the ruins of Valen. Ash covered the ground, turning the world gray and cold among the fallen trees and broken buildings. A small girl moved quietly. Her name was Lena, just 7 years old. Her eyes were large, too large for someone so small. Eyes that had seen fire, loss, and pain. She carried her little brother on her back. He was just a baby, too weak to cry anymore. They had hidden for days. No food, no water, only fear. Her parents had been taken by the slavers. She had watched. Too scared to scream, she had run. But she never forgot their faces. Now, her tiny feet bled with every step. Her arms shook under the baby's weight. Still, she kept moving, toward a cave she had seen once. Deep in the cliffs, Inside the cave, Lena laid her brother down gently. He didn't wake. She wrapped him in a cloth and knelt beside him. Her stomach growled, her body trembled, but she didn't cry. She folded her hands and whispered, "Please." She said softly, "Please, stars, help us. I know you're busy with bigger things, but if anyone's listening, we're still here. I just want him to eat, far above the planet, inside the Reaper's mercy." A sensor pinged, a faint signal, almost nothing, but the ship's AI paused, then focused. It wasn't a distress beacon. It was a life reading, 2 small forms, alone, no food, no shelter. Team Nova had just returned from another strike. They were resting, reloading. Then the alert came. Location marked, priority, immediate. One of the soldiers, a woman named Vex. "Read the data. To children," she whispered. "No heat, no protection." Without a word, she stood, grabbed her pack. Another soldier followed her. Then another. Within minutes, a pod descended from the ship. It hit the ground softly near the cliffs. Lena heard nothing. She was too tired, her head resting on her brother's chest. His breathing was faint, fading then. A shadow fell across her. She opened her eyes and saw a tall figure, dark armor, glowing blue eyes under the helmet. She didn't scream, she didn't run. She just whispered, "Are you real?" The soldier knelt, reached out a hand. Lena flinched, but the touch was gentle. Vex took out a food packet, opened it, and held it to the girl's lips. Lena stared. At it, then at her brother. She pointed at him first. "Feed him." "Please," Vex nodded, took the baby into her arms, and slowly fed him drops of nutrient paste. Another soldier wrapped Lena in a warm thermal blanket. She leaned into him without speaking, her body shaking with relief. The humans didn't ask questions, they didn't promise anything. They just worked, quickly and calmly. Setting up a heat shelter, medical support, food drops, and a safe zone beacon. As the sun rose, more villagers arrived. They had followed the sound of the pod landing. One by one, broken families stepped out of hiding. Mothers with missing children, elders with burnt clothes, and they all found the same thing: humans. Helping without asking, Lena's baby brother opened his eyes. For the first time in days, he cried. It was the sound of life. She laughed, a dry, soft sound. She turned to Vex and said, "You heard me?" "The stars sent you." Vex removed her helmet. A scar ran down her cheek, but her eyes were kind. She said, "No, little one, you called, and we answered." Back on the Reaper's mercy, the crew watched the growing crowd of survivors. The AI recorded the moment, tagged it under Humanitarian Response, Level 1. But the humans didn't care about records, they cared about faces, about hands grabbing theirs with thanks, about eyes that once held fear, now filled with hope. Elsewhere, the slavers picked up the beacon's signal. They knew what it meant: a rescue zone. Protected by human tech, they debated attacking it, but none dared. One slaver general whispered, "They're guarding children now. If we hit them there, Earth will come for all of us." The others stayed silent. That day, no battles were fought, no camps were raided. But something greater happened. A small girl prayed for help, and Deathworlders answered. Not with guns, not with fire, but with food, warmth, and silence. They didn't speak much. They didn't need to. Their actions said everything. "We heard you, you matter, you're not alone anymore." And as the sun set again over Valen, the Reaper's mercy hovered quietly. Watching, guarding, not a machine of death today, but a shield in the night, because even in the cold, even in the dark, a child's prayer had reached them, and the humans had come. The final stand, the slaver warship Dagger Fang, hovered above the broken mountains of Valen. It was the largest ship in the region, thick armor, heavy weapons, brutal power inside it. Commander Vorlok stood with his arms crossed, watching the screen. Footage showed burning camps, empty cages, and humans in black armor. He growled, "They dare touch our empire." One officer whispered, "Sir, we've lost over half our outposts, entire divisions." Gone. Vorlok slammed his fist into the wall. "They want war. Then we'll give them one." Below, survivors were being moved into a safety zone. The humans had turned an old mining station into a stronghold. Solar shields protected it. Drone turrets watched the skies. Food, water, medicine, it was all flowing like never before. But the Reaper's mercy knew this peace was temporary. The last slaver force was gathering, and they were coming inside the ship's strategy room. The human commander spoke softly. They've sent the Daggerfang. Estimated crew 500, slave count known firepower overwhelming. The soldiers didn't panic. They simply loaded their weapons and checked their armor. This wasn't fear. This was routine. Vex stepped forward. Are we extracting the civilians? The commander shook his head. No time. They'll be here in less than 2 hours. We make our stand here. The Reaper's Mercy didn't retreat. It hovered above the stronghold, ready to die before leaving anyone behind. In the safety zone, Lena held her brother tightly. She heard the alarms, saw the humans moving fast. One soldier knelt beside her and smiled. Stay inside, little one. No matter what you hear, she nodded, but her heart pounded. She had seen what slavers could do, and she had seen what humans could stop. From the north, the sky began to glow red. Slaver gunships screamed toward the mountains. The ground rumbled, the air turned thick. The final fight had come. The first missiles came fast. They slammed into the shield wall, shaking the entire base, but the shield held, just barely. Human anti-air cannons activated. Booming sounds echoed through the valley. 1, 2, 3 gunships exploded midair, falling like burning birds, but more kept coming. The soldiers moved like lightning. Some guarded the civilians, others manned the turrets. Snipers took positions along the cliffs. They wore cloaks that made them blend into the rocks. Each shot they fired, counted each second they bought, saved lives. Vex led a ground team to intercept a slaver landing party. The enemy troops were larger, stronger, heavily armed, but the humans were faster. They used the terrain, used silence. Each slaver that stepped onto the battlefield didn't leave it. Inside the Daggerfang, Commander Vorlok watched in disbelief. How are they still alive? Why aren't they breaking? He snarled. Prepare the plasma cannon. We'll wipe that entire area from the surface. The plasma cannon charged. A beam of deadly energy, strong enough to erase the mountain base. The humans saw it. Too late, the shield wouldn't survive that hit. Inside the base, the commander made a choice. He turned to the AI of the Reaper's Mercy. Activate Omega Protocol. A deep voice replied, confirmed. All primary weapons transferring to Reaper's Mercy. Above the base, the black ship lit up, not with missiles, not with lasers, but with an old weapon Earth had designed long ago, an ion spear, silent, focused. It gathered energy in the ship's spine, a single shot, made for one target, the Daggerfang. As the slavers fired their plasma beam, the Reaper's Mercy responded. A beam of white light, silent, piercing the clouds, it struck the enemy ship mid-core. The plasma beam flickered, bent, then vanished. The Daggerfang shook violently. Flames bursting from its sides, its engines failed, its weapons shut down. It started to fall. Inside, Commander Vorlok screamed orders. But it was too late. The humans had struck back. The massive warship hit the side of the mountain. The ground shook like thunder. A wave of dust and heat rolled across the valley. Then silence. The battle was over. Not with thousands of troops, not with fleets, but with a few dozen humans who refused to run inside the safety zone. Cheers broke out, children laughed, old ones cried, families held each other close. Lena watched as Vex returned, armor scratched, helmet off. She ran to her and hugged her tightly. You didn't let them win, she whispered. Vex knelt and whispered. Back we never do that night. Fires burned not from destruction, but from warmth. Food was shared, songs were sung, and above them, the Reaper's Mercy hovered silently, not a symbol of fear now, but a symbol of hope. Earth hadn't just come to destroy, they came to protect, to stand when no one else would. And when the final attack came, they didn't back down, because that's what humans did. That's what Deathworlders became. The last wall between cruelty and peace. A message to the galaxy. The sky over Valen was clear again. The smoke had faded, the fires had gone cold. The ground, once stained with blood and ash, now held footsteps of rebuilding. People were walking freely, not hiding, not running, just walking. The Reaper's Mercy still hovered above, silent as ever, but now it was no longer feared. Children pointed at it and smiled. They called it the Black Angel, and for the first time in years, they could sleep without fear. In the valley, the humans were packing up. The slavers were gone, their ships broken, their leaders captured or dead. No more screams echoed through the night, just the sound of hammers, voices, and life returning. Lena stood beside Vex, holding her brother's hand. The baby laughed as he touched Vex's armored glove. Lena looked up and whispered, "Will you stay?" Vex knelt, eyes soft. "We can't," she said. "There are others still calling for help." "But you're safe now," the girl nodded. But tears filled her eyes. Vex gently handed her a small device. "If danger ever returns," she said, "push this. No matter where we are, we'll come nearby." The human commander gave his final report to the AI enemy forces. Neutralized, civilians secured. Colony stable. The AI responded in its cold, calm voice. "Shall I erase operation data?" The commander paused, then shook his head. "No," he said. "Send it." The message left the ship like a ripple across the stars. Encrypted, silent, untraceable, it reached every corner of the galaxy, every council chamber, every war room, every listening station. It was not a warning, not a threat. It was a recording. A simple video showing what happened on Valen, the slaver camps, the children in cages, then the humans landing, rescuing, fighting, protecting, the final battle, the fall of the Daggerfang. And then the faces smiling, crying, grateful at the end of the message. Just a few words appeared on the screen. "We heard them. We came. We will again." The Galactic Council sat in silence. Some were angry, some were afraid, some were ashamed. They had ignored the cries. They had looked away, but the humans hadn't. An old council member leaned forward. "Do we punish them?" he asked. A younger one shook his head. "Punish them for what?" "For saving people we left to die," another whispered. "The Deathworlders didn't break laws. They broke silence on black markets." Whispers changed tone. No more jokes about wild humans. Now there was fear. Dealers refused to trade in slaves anymore. No one wanted to risk the Reaper's mercy showing up at their door on pirate ships. Flags were changed. Raiders switched routes, hid deeper in space. And in dark corners of the galaxy, slaver kings destroyed their own records, trying to erase the past before Earth found it. But the humans didn't search for records. They listened for voices. Voices too small to be heard by governments. Voices that cried in the dark. Voices like Lena's on Valen. The humans left behind more than gear. They left power cores, food generators, medical drones, and something gratter a memory. The people would tell their children, and their children would tell the next of the day a black ship came down from the stars. And humans stepped out not to conquer, but to protect. Lena stood on a hill, waving as the last pod lifted into the sky. Her brother on her hip, smiling. The humans looked down from above. They didn't wave back, but they saw and they remembered, because Earth never forgot the ones who were ignored, the ones who whispered instead of screamed, the ones who prayed instead of fought. And when those whispers reached human ears, the galaxy trembled. Inside the Reaper's mercy, the crew sat quiet as the stars passed around them. One soldier turned to the commander and asked, "Where to next?" The commander didn't look up. "Wherever someone needs us," he said. And so the ship vanished again. No noise, no light, just gone. But its message remained, burned into the stars, echoing in every place where pain still lived. A promise from a death world that when the strong abused the weak, when the powerful looked away, when silence became death, humanity would speak, not with words, but with action, not with pride, but with justice. And somewhere, out there, in the dark of space, another cry would rise, another signal would flicker through the void, and once again, the humans would hear it, and once again, they would come.